If you are considering purchasing a condo in Miami, you need to watch this video to learn about the 5 things that you must know before purchasing a condo. There's a lot of investors, a lot of buyers that make mistakes when they go into purchasing a condo. There's some things that they overlook, that they don't look, that they don't ask about, that they don't investigate, they don't do their due diligence, their realtor doesn't do a good job investigating, and then they buy something and they either regret it, or they are not as happy, or they find something out by surprise, or something that they didn't know prior to purchasing the condo. So I do not want these things to happen to you, my friends. That's why I'm making this video. The 5 things that you should know before purchasing a condo in Miami and what you should be looking out for. So let's not waste any more time and let's get into this right now. What's going on, everyone? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Waisfeld, real estate agent here in Miami with eXp Realty, and today we're gonna be talking about the 5 things that you should know before purchasing a condo down here in South Florida. So let's first start out by saying that if you're watching this video, most likely you are interested in purchasing a condo, right? You're interested, you're curious to know more about buying a condo, mistakes, things that you should look out for. So congratulations, and thank you for watching the video, and thank yourself, because again, you're wise, you're savvy, and you want to learn more before going forward with this purchase, which is great. So let's first talk about that down here in South Florida. There's tons of condos. Every area you go to, there's gonna be some type of condominium or apartment complex. Not sure if you're gonna be buying for investment purposes or for primary residence for yourself to live in. Whichever one you're gonna buy, it's gonna depend a little bit, right, on which one the reason why you're buying, let's just say. But at the end of the day, it's always gonna be very similar, because let's say that you're buying for yourself right now to live in, but you may be thinking that in 3 or 5 years from now you may want to rent it out, and you may want to move to a bigger one, a smaller one, move to a different location, right? So there's some things that you may need to know. Or vice versa, you may want to rent it out at first, but then you may want to live in there, right? So there's a lot of important things that, first of all, you need to know, that you need to ask yourself, and then we're gonna get into the things that you should know before purchasing a condo. So anyway, let's not waste any more time, let's get into it right now. Alright, so the first thing that you should know is gonna be rental restrictions. Very, 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 very important. First of all, if you're thinking about doing short-term or Airbnb, most condos are not gonna permit that. I will say over 90% are not gonna permit it. So some areas you have that the city doesn't permit, and then some areas you have maybe the city permits, but maybe the condominium association itself does not allow short-term rentals. So number one, let's get that out of the way. Most condos are not gonna allow for it legally, okay? So just keep that in mind. But rental restrictions, okay, there's a lot of condos that do allow rentals, but you cannot rent the first year owned, or you cannot rent the first 2 years that you own it. They do that so you don't get as much investors, and you get more primary residents, you get more people, owners that are living in there, right? They're gonna take care more of the facility, of the building, of the condo, a lot more than, let's just say, a renter, right? So a lot of buildings have these restrictions, so you need to know. Okay, there's some buildings that have no restrictions at all. So if you're an investor, you need to find a building that has 0 restrictions that you can rent. Of course, again, the short term is a different thing, but you can rent right away, that you can rent for 1 year lease without a problem. Let's say your tenant leaves and you could rent it right away. The reason I say that is because some buildings do allow rentals, but they only allow, let's just say, 1 per year. So if you have a renter that by some mysterious, I don't know, something happened, they had to leave, right? They say 8 months in, things happen in life, they had to vacate. So sometimes you cannot re-rent that the condo, because some condos only allow once per year, or some may allow 3 times per year, but only a month max. or 3 months max, right? So you can only rent it 3 times a year, but max 3 months each time, right? So there's very few people that come here that want to rent a 3 month, right? Or there's some that, I mean, there's all kinds of different restrictions. Okay, I just kind of went over the ones that I see mostly, but you need to be careful. Then there's 55 plus restrictions, right? Some condos that are 55 plus. You need to watch out for that as well. So rental restrictions are very important, whether you are an investor or whether you are looking to live in there, but maybe rent it out in a year or 2 or in 3 years. You need to know what to look out for, right? Some condos only allow short term, like 6 months max or 3 months max, right? They try not to have rental, so they put these restrictions in place. So anyway, that's something super important that you need to have in mind, that you need to figure out. You need to call, or your agent needs to, do their due diligence and call and find out this information. Most of these things, it's better to call, but a lot of them are in the condo docs when you do purchase a condo, or in the rules and regulations of the condo documents. The second thing that you should look out for is going to be special assessments. Special assessments, right? Very, very important. Because you don't want to go in a condo thinking that you're going to be paying, let's just say, $700 a month for maintenance fees, and then you lived in there 6 months or 1 year and a special assessment comes and it's another 200, 300, 400, who knows? I'm just throwing numbers out there, but these are numbers that I see often per month for 10 years, right? Or sometimes they need to be paid up front, 5,000, 10,000, right? So these are things that you need to look out for. So when you go and you start seeing these condominiums, you need to see the windows, let's just say. If you see that the windows are from the 60s or 70s or 80s and they're really old, and you know every other building around the area is already changing the windows to impact windows or more newer modern windows, which usually they're impact windows, you need to kind of think ahead and be and say, okay, most likely this condo will also be changing windows at any time, and that's probably going to be 6,000, 10,000, 15,000 depending on the size of the unit, right? So these are things that you need to think about. Or let's say the lobby is super outdated, or the hallways are super outdated, let's say the elevator is outdated. All these things you need to really think ahead and say, okay, this condo, I don't think it's gonna last like this too much. I like the condo, but you already know there's someone at some point that's gonna say, hey, we need to, update all these things. We need to do, and then that it calls for a special assessment. If you don't really know what a special assessment is, it's exactly that. So pretty much if the condo needs to do renovations, they need to update something or whatever they need to put money in, even if it's fixing something, they usually, if the condo has no reserves, which most condos do not have reserves, that's another thing to talk about. So they usually will get that, that budget or whatever the cost, let's just say, and they'll divide it between, I don't want to get too much detail into it, but they're going to divide it between all the owners, right? They don't just say, okay, there's 100 owners, let's divide by 100. It goes a little bit deeper in that, but whatever. The point is that you will get, you'll have to pay a part of that as special assessment. That's what an assessment is, that's what it is. Again, some places may charge you up front. You need to pay cash up front, and some may do monthly payments. It depends how the condo association went about it. Sometimes they get loans, or sometimes they have to pay up front. It really depends. These are things that you need to watch out for, because if you're in a budget, or if you're an investor and you're thinking, okay, I have cash flow of $300-400 a month, or whatever that number is, $1,000 a month, right? And then a special assessment comes in, and now your cash flow is only $600 a month, and that might not be the right choice for you, right? Or if you have a budget of, let's just say, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, whatever that number is, and you have a special assessment, you need to add $200-300 more to that monthly expense. It might be out of your budget, or it might not be out of your budget, but it might not be something that you're willing to pay every single month. So these are things that you need to watch out for, okay? Now, talking about condo reserves that I just spoke about a few minutes ago, if the condo has reserves, which most condos do not have reserves down here in South Florida, but if it has reserves, all these items, all these things that need to be repaired or updated, let's just say, most of the time will come from that condo reserve, right? So it's also something to do your due diligence about. And when you get those condo docs, there's a budget, there's a planning, everything has to do with the finances of the condominium, and it will show you how much money is in reserve. It will show you where the money is going every single month, every single year, and then you will be able to see if it's well managed, if not, if it has reserves, and not if it has no reserves and it's old, then you know most likely there's gonna be an assessment coming up. So anyway, this is something very, very important for you to know, for you to keep in mind, so you know the finances and you know your numbers. One thing to keep in mind regarding the condition of the building and the special assessment is gonna be that so the first one is at 40 years. So we call it the 40-year certification of the condominium. So we're in 2021, so that means in 81. So every building that's that you're interested in, and you see that it's been built before 81, before the 80s, let's just say, that means it already went through the 40-year certification. So it has some assessments, it's probably already paid for, or it's probably in the works. You need to figure that out. If it was after the 80s, let's say it was 83, 85, or whatever it is, and you know the 40 years coming, then you know by all means, 100%, there's gonna be special assessments. Whether it has reserves or not, there's gonna be some updating, because when the 40 year comes, most of these condos, they have to do some concrete repairs. Usually they take advantage and they take that time to paint, to do concrete restoration, to update elevators, to do a bunch of things in the condo. Okay, so just know that. And then after the 40-year certification, they need to do the certification every 10 years. So the 40-year, the 50-year, the 60-year, and so on. So those other years, every 10 years, is not as let's just say, not as much work or as much update goes in these condos as the 40-year. The 40-year is like the main one that they take advantage and do all these works, but still every 10 years there could be something else that comes up that needs to be fixed. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The third thing that you need to understand and you need to watch out for, look out for, is the location of the condominium, because it could be in an area that you're interested in, right? Just throw in the area, I don't know, Aventura. Aventura is a great area, or Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, right? The condo could be in an area that you like, but maybe it's in a block, it's in a street that it's not the best street in that neighborhood, right? So maybe you're thinking you're buying in the best neighborhood, but it's probably the worst block, right? Or vice versa. But just keep in mind the location, what's next to the building, right? Let's just say you're buying in Sunny Isles or in Hallandale, or even if I'm in Aventura or Edgewater, Midtown, downtown, Brickell. All these areas are growing rapidly and you have condos everywhere. So let's just say you buy awesome condo, and you need to look out for the location. You need to look out for what's to my left, to my right, to my front, to the back. Is there empty lots next to me? So I just bought a condo for $1 million with amazing views, but there's an empty lot. Anytime now, there's gonna be construction next door. There's gonna be a brand new development that might be blocking your view, right? So you need to really watch out for the location, okay? It's very, very important. You don't wanna buy something, or let's just say, what is the city planning, right? So let's just say you buy one of these neighborhoods, or Hollywood, or whatever neighborhood, and let's say you buy in a condo or an apartment, whatever, and then the city has plans to renovate all the streets or renovate the sidewalks, or in Hollywood and Dania Beach right now, all these last few years, they've been doing all the sewer piping in the whole neighborhood. So imagine the whole neighborhood has just been torn apart, all the sidewalks, streets. It's a great project, but the point is that if you buy in these condos and it's a project that takes 2-3 years that the city's doing, then you may not want to be going home every single day to a construction site, or whatever the case may be. But just be careful the location, not just the area itself, but where the condo is located itself, what's around it, what projects the city has in mind. Try to investigate as much as possible. Of course, sometimes there's very little time to do this, or sometimes you won't have time to do this, hopefully your agent. But these are just some things to keep in mind, because it will save you tons of time, headaches, stress, and it will definitely save you surprises. The fourth thing, very, very important, is gonna be HOA and other fees. So you need to understand HOA fees, homeowner association fees, maintenance fees, okay? So all of these condos are gonna have HOA fees no matter what. I'm sure you know that already. If you don't, then Yes, every single condo is gonna have a condo fee, right? I mean, who's gonna take care of it? It's gotta be an association. There's, building insurance in there. There's maintenance. There's people working probably in the building. There's all kinds of fees that go into the maintenance, right? A lot of these condos offer, exterior insurance. The water is usually included. Some of them have like basic cable. Some might have internet. Some they may cover part of the AC, because sometimes the AC is in the roof of the building. It's like a industrial AC conditioner that cools down the whole building. So sometimes you save that fee, right? Sometimes you just pay electricity, let's just say, and not the AC. So sometimes your electricity bill is gonna be a lot less. Anyhow, you just need to find out and know exactly what the HOA is, what it covers, and if there's any other fees. There's a lot of buildings that charge for different fees. It's not very common, but there are a lot of other condos that they just say will charge you a HOA fee, fine. But they just say for a parking spot, they may charge you $150. And for a second car, $200. Or they just say they may charge you for water and trash that you didn't know about. You thought it was included, but it may not be included, right? Or there's some condos that charge a membership fee up a little bit more up north in South Florida. There's a lot of condos that have like golf courses and clubhouses and different things that they offer, and they charge yearly membership fees. So you really need to know your numbers. You need to know what's included, what the HOA fees are, and if there's any other maintenance fees or any other fees on top of that, so you know those numbers and there's no surprises. And the last thing is gonna be the resale value. So going back to number 3, was it? It was number 3, talking about the location. Also has to do with the resale values, because again, let's say you just bought a $1 million condo unit, amazing views, gorgeous unit, but let's just say there's an empty lot next door and they start building. So yeah, so maybe once the new development is finished, who knows, maybe the price of the condo will go up. But during that time that it takes to build, construction, debris, dirt, noise, let's just say you either need to rent it out or you need to sell, I'm sure that it's not gonna rent for market value. It may not even sell for market value, right? So you need to pay attention to those things if you are considering, buying and maybe looking to sell in the next few years. Or again, you may not be thinking of selling, but again, there's probably empty lots all over you, and there's going to be construction, or the city has plans to do something. And sometimes that I see that brings the market, the value down of the property, at least for that certain period where there's either construction or there's something going on, or renovations, the assessments. Sometimes condos take 2-3 years. Sometimes they hire a general contractor to do all the work in the building, and I've heard of all kinds of crazy stories. So those are, it's a period where if you sell, you're gonna have to sell for less. It really depends on the value that you bought it for, but again, just keep that in mind, because if it's gonna be under construction, it's gonna be under renovations for 2-3 years. Sometimes I see pools that are being renovated for over 2 years, right? So that, that might bring the value down. So just keep in mind, just really keep in mind, a way to do this is, of course, everything that I just mentioned, with investigating, researching, doing your due diligence, but also to, you can go back, you have your agent go back into the condo that you like and go see all the past sales. They could go back as far as whatever year they want to go and see, and they could check out how much it appreciated. So there's some condos, for example, that I've sold that the sellers bought 10 years ago and it barely went up anything, right? So if I was the buyer's agent with that unit, I would do that investigation. I would say, hey, look, they bought 10 years ago and it barely, went up. So if you're thinking in your mind that you're gonna buy because you want to resell in 5 years, that condo specifically may not be the case. And then there's other condos that, yes, appreciation is great because of the area, because of the condo. They probably went through the renovations and it's now renovated, whatever the case may be. But these are all things that I want you to keep in mind before purchasing a condo down here in Miami. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked the video. I hope you got some value. I hope you got some tips from this. If you're looking to purchase a condo down here in Miami, I'll be more than happy to help you out. You have all my information down below. You can shoot me a text, an email, WhatsApp, Instagram message, whatever it is. We can set up a Zoom call and talk over all of these things in more detail. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I see you guys in the next video.